All right, good morning. Hello, everyone. It's Joseph Lackland here with the pre-market update for Wednesday, April 22nd, 2026. Let's check in with the latest news headlines and see if we can make any sense out of this. We probably won't be able to, but we're going to try anyway. Once again, I had Gemini pull a couple of articles, and now I'm going to verify them with the help of ChatGPT. We will go through these one by one if they are suspect, and we will try and piece together what the narrative is coming in this morning and what it means for the market, oil prices, stock index prices, and of course metals. Energy and the stocks are taking the center stage at the moment. Metals are kind of, working in the background. Obviously, gold and silver is a measure of how much our purchasing power is increasing or decreasing. And with the, historic rally in metals lately, well, we know that our purchasing power is dwindling by the day. This is, of course, the net effect of continuing to print money out of thin air and run up debts and deficits with no real plan to change the course of action that's been put in place. It is an endless inflation of the money supply. And this has been done throughout history in several theaters of civilization and has never really worked out well. So I don't think it's going to work out well this time around, but you never know, they may figure it out. So the top headlines overnight, grab them from a couple of news sources. It says 8:45 p.m. last night, Trump extends ceasefire indefinitely. Next one, Pakistan PM Sharif publicly thanks Trump for delaying strikes. Okay, de-escalation, wonderful. UN Secretary General welcomes truce extension. Okay. IRGC gunboat opens fire on container ship. It's obviously not good. Iran executes alleged Mossad spy Mehdi Farid in Tehran. Not good. 3 vessels hit by gunfire. Enforces red line zone. Escalation. Global oil prices surge as markets price in long-term blockade. Well, a naval blockade is most effective when it's left in place for an extended period of time. So a naval blockade is not a temporary thing. If there is a naval blockade in effect, no matter who institutes the blockade, it's probably going to stay there for a while. UK MTO reports heavy damage to vessel bridge 15 nautical miles off Oman. U.S. Marines board sanctioned tanker Tiffany in Indian Ocean. We'll check that. Vance's Islamabad peace delegation delayed for White House meeting. So more delegation, more ceasefire, more talks. They walk it back. Then we're on talks again. Then there's some problem with it. It's the continued, oscillation. It gives the impression of negotiations taking place, but we're not exactly sure how effective these negotiations actually are. Let's go to GPT. GPT gives us a reality check. Of course, it says Trump extends ceasefire indefinitely, likely incorrect, overstated. No credible global wire has confirmed an indefinite extension. Temporary conditional gives us a fix here. The Pakistan PM one, plausible but weak sourcing. Needs confirmation. UN welcomes truce, likely solid. Okay, so the UN comments are pretty solid. It thinks IRGC fires on container ship, high risk, likely inaccurate, so we're not sure. There is IRGC activity in Hormuz, but direct gunfire on commercial ships, GPT interprets as massive escalation. Front page global confirmation everywhere, no broad confirmation. This is likely exaggerated or misreported. Reports of increased IRGC and naval activity and heightened risk to shipping in the Strait. Okay, well, we already knew that. We knew that things were getting worse. The Strait remains closed. The Strait is not open. And every day that the Strait is not open, there are just more and more shortages of things that would normally be building up and then going out and then building up and then going out. This is going to create a massive disruption if this continues for much longer. The disruption is already massive, but it's going to be even more massive. Iran executes Mossad spy, plausible but needs confirmation. 3 vessels hit by gunfire, likely inaccurate. This compounds the earlier claim. The market reaction doesn't really support this at the moment. It would seem that, you know, crude oil would be a lot higher if there were more serious kinetic events out there. That they could be happening, well, we're not exactly sure. And if there was, you know, some massive events out there, then would they tell us right away, or are they going to tell us what we should or should not recognize at that point in time? It seems that the information is given to us on a need-to-know basis, and if we are deemed that we need to know, then we'll know about it, and if we are deemed not need to know, then we will not know about it. We'll have to find out from other sources or on our own. Oil surge on blockade fears. It's not really surging, but we did have some very interesting activity yesterday on the close, and I wanted to touch on that. So let's get into the chart here. You can see that the deadline for the ceasefire was about midnight. So as soon as the midnight deadline came out, the crude oil instantly dumped from 89.60 down to 87.70 in about an hour. So that's a decent move in crude. It's not a huge move, but it's 200 ticks in a relatively short amount of time from a market that was relatively quiet. Now, this is the action on the close yesterday, and you can clearly see that we have some dramatic volume increase and volatility here, and we're ebbing and flowing along for most of the day. Here's the NYMEX open here at 8 o'clock, so we go down, then we make a nice, steady rally, up, up, up. We end up at about 90 by, the time New York goes for lunch, and we proceed to hit 91.40 about an hour and a half later. And then right here is where some news headlines come out. I'm not too sure exactly what those news headlines were, but we can infer from the market reaction what's going on here. Crude oil starts going down. That's de-escalation, ceasefire. We're in peace talks. So we have lots of volume here that's trading. This is a 1-minute chart, by the way. So we had a pretty good, that's the biggest volume bar of the day, I think. So 3,268 contracts traded. That's twice as much as the bar here early in the morning. So we have the biggest bar of the day. And then we have the second biggest volume bar of the day right here. And we drop from 91 to 89.20, another 200 tick move. And then we proceed to trade some sufficient volume here in the trough. And then we have a big down move again right here. And by volatility, this is the biggest range bar of the day right here, with more, concentrated volume here. And then we have the rally that begins at 2:30 Central Time. So we have some pretty serious action here toward the close. This is the NYMEX close at 1:30, but we had a major whipsaw now when the market rallies. Okay, it looks like that things aren't really going as well as we thought. So, of course, the rush back in, panic to the upside. And then what happened here? What is this? Is this some kind of admission of a mistake, like we got this rally wrong. It's very hard to put a technical, quantifiable reason on this particular frame of price action right here. This is the market overreacting to whatever news headlines are coming out or whatever is, perceived by the informed players. So that was the picture in crude. And you can see from the time chart here, we have a 10-minute chart here, and these bars are, relatively normal, quote unquote, ebbing and flowing, and now you just get this crazy whipsaw action. So overnight, the market had a raid overnight, and that got bought up pretty quick over the next couple of hours. So we did make a new high on that. We're starting to come off. It appeared that the market was forming a base around the opening price at around 90, but we've since given that up, and we're turning south now and going the other way. NASDAQ, the stock market has been pretty steady overnight. We've held the opening range low. The opening range is the low. We've been trading, above and inside the box ever since. This green box is yesterday's cash opening range, so we pretty much have not done anything. We are simply holding on to the territory that we have gained over the last couple of days. So the market is very solid, very hard, very thick. There's lots of liquidity. There's not a lot of fear in the market whatsoever. This market is priced for perfection. It is most likely, definitely not really weighing the true nature of what is about to happen here in the next couple of weeks should the Strait of Hormuz remain closed. The market, in my opinion right now, is completely oblivious to the dangers ahead. It is not, it's in denial. Let's just put it that way. The market is in flat out denial that things have the potential to get extraordinarily difficult and monumentally worse here. So it's the typical optimism and, hope and whatever else you want to throw in there that's positive. So no matter what's going on in the world lately, no matter how bad it really seems to get on the ground level, the stock market continues to display a perfect utopia of the future. Crude oil daily chart here is definitely starting to stabilize here around $89, $90, but we haven't closed above a high for several sessions here. The last time we closed above a high was right here, so no close above the high, no close above the high. All these bars, no close above the high. Now we finally got a close above the high here. So when a little tiny bar like this closes above the high and the market is stabilizing, it usually means that the acceleration may be coming soon. Because if the market is not going to go down anymore, and now we're starting to really build value here in this tight range area, then any excursion higher is going to be met with some short covering initially, stops getting run, traders that have bet that, this thing's going to keep going down, they're going to cover when we close above the previous high like this. There's a lot of players that are in here that will exit when this price action confirms that their thesis is no longer correct. Let's look at gasoline. Gasoline is already trying to explore higher prices. We have a stronger conviction here in gasoline. You can see that the opening is the low here on this bar. This bar clears several highs, and 313.76 is the last trade in gasoline. We could easily go up to 326, 330. We could do that in a couple of hours. It doesn't take much for the gasoline to move a lot. As you can see, the gasoline is quite capable of moving a lot if it truly wants to. So gasoline indicated higher, crude indicated higher. E-mini S&Ps right here. Once again, we're on the historic rally. We're consolidating here. We're either going to push higher or this is going to start rolling over. It's very difficult to speculate in the stock index futures of what's going to happen. The correct approach is to follow technicals and try not to have too much of an opinion in here, because once again the landscape is rather irrational. It does not really make sense what is happening here, and when things don't make sense, you have to use other methods to base your decisions on. That's why I like quantitative analysis and mathematical formulas. That's what helps me stay, even keel in here, and prevents me from oscillating and swaying too much either way with the mood of the market. Nasdaq, similar story. We briefly touched on the fact that Nasdaq overnight is steady to higher, so we're going to get some more all-time highs in here. Gold is starting to come off a little bit. The gold picture is different than the indexes and the crude. The gold's kind of doing its own thing right now. I watched a YouTuber yesterday that was saying that some of these foreign countries are selling gold in order to raise capital because their currencies are, losing purchasing power more dramatically than ever. It's due to the worldwide, debt expansion, quantitative easing done by all these countries. The race to the bottom is what some experts call it, where each country is deliberately devaluing their currency in order to try and keep everything afloat. So some of these other foreign countries are selling lots of gold in order to make up for the fact that their currencies are losing the purchasing power. So gold is turning down. Gold is negative slightly right now. It is chopping a lot. We did have a pretty good sell-off yesterday during the later part of the day. We've basically been drifting up all night, but back up near the resistance. So gold is rolling negative here. Nasdaq steady. Gasoline up. Gasoline is definitely intending to trade higher. We will see what happens here on the NYMEX Open. The resistance is first stop 317, next stop 320. Above that, I don't have any numbers above that. The next number above that is about 330 right here. My trading plan for today is going to be to run some scripts during the first couple of hours and hopefully catch some good market action. Maybe they'll throw some news headlines in there to make it interesting, but I should have some good footage for you guys on the script demonstration videos later. So make sure to tune into that when I upload that, and I'll talk to you in a few hours. Bye for now.